Some of our most impactful plays go far beyond the court or field. This is the Net to Net live show.
It's more than just a game.
Welcome back to, what is it, season 3? Season 4 of the From Net to Net podcast. We're officially back. It's been a while. Everyone's been asking me, when's the podcast coming back? Like, over the summer, are you going to continue the podcast? And the answer is yes. We're back. We're here. Alongside Monte, as always. How you doing, Monte?
I'm doing great, man. Like the same thing that you said, people were asking me about the podcast. Why was there a hiatus? But it's just because exams had finished and, it was the summer break. But I'm super excited to be back. I'm happy to see you again. How are you?
I'm good, bro. I had a great summer, traveling. Went to LA, went to Armenia, went to Iran, all over the place. I heard you were here working back at Jampar.
I was.
No Jampar. How was that?
It was good. Chaotic, but, my big focus was just, keeping up with the sporting world, working in the summer. It was good. It was good.
For a person like me who's like mainly into soccer and mainly into basketball, it's kind of hard like staying involved in sports over the summer because there's no soccer, there's no basketball. I think over the summer, what do you have? You have baseball, I think. Baseball's going on.
Yeah.
But I'm not a baseball guy, so
Me neither.
it's like I was like kind of disconnected from sports. And then the Club World Cup started, but like no one really cares about that. But yeah, we're back now. The soccer season's well underway. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna start off with that actually, and then we're gonna get into our our preview of the NBA season, mainly for the Eastern Conference and all the transactions that happened, trades, re-signing, and just our thoughts on what we think about the East teams. We can get into soccer though. Let's start with the Premier League because this weekend was a crazy weekend.
Insane.
In terms of like the big 6 teams all had a disappointing result other than Man City, but I don't care about Man City. I'm a Man U fan, so screw Man City. But Chelsea lost, Spurs drew, Liverpool lost. Man U, I don't even know if we can be considered a big six team anymore with the way we've been playing for the past like 10 years, but Man U lost. Who else? Arsenal won, unfortunately, but yeah, it was a crazy weekend of results. What were your thoughts on it?
I thought the biggest upset for me was Liverpool just because, like, they've been cruising by some of the best competition in the league, Champions League, Premier League, and for them to lose to a very obviously inferior Crystal Palace team was very shocking to me. Arne Slot, their manager, was not very happy with the result, thought they played with a lack of urgency, which is true. But I do want to touch on something for you. Manchester United, to me, are abysmal this season. Like, Ruben Amram, he's going to be probably sacked sometime soon. I don't know what's going on with the state of their club. I was so impressed with their transfer window outside of the lack of midfield acquisitions, but getting Sesko, getting Cunha, getting Mbeumo, and for them to come out flat against inferior teams like Grimsby Town when they lost to them. What are your thoughts on Manchester United right now?
Okay, well, I'll get into the Liverpool thing in a sec, but you mentioned, we got Cunha, we got Sesko, we got Mbeumo. Those 3 are all attackers. Did you see our defense over the weekend? Did you see how much space Igor Thiago had? You see Maguire still starting at the back, which Maguire, he's reliable sometimes, but Luke Shaw still starting as a center back for us. He's been here for 12 years, been injured for like 7 of those years. That's the issue. We strengthened in attack, yeah. Our attack was pretty bad last season, and we didn't need attackers. But I wonder if we got Mbeumo, we got Cunha, cool. I was really happy with that. That 70 million we put towards Sesko, I think that should have been used. Maybe 30 million on midfield, 30 million in defense. I don't think Sesko was a necessary buy. He's off the mark with the goal. He got a goal against Brentford, even though we had an embarrassing result. And as for Ruben Amorim, I think he's gone, man. Like, after losing to Grimsby, after having this much of a bad start, I think he's gone. I'm pretty sure there's a clause in his contract where if they sack him before November 1st, they have to pay him an extra fee. So I think the club's going to wait until November 1st so they don't have to pay him that money and then get rid of him. That's what I think is going to happen. But yeah, man, you look terrible. As for Liverpool, I mean, Liverpool, you said they were cruising this season, but they were cruising last season. I can definitely give you that. But this season, they've just been really clutch. So many last minute winners, so many last minute goals. Their defense has looked suspect, and I mean this game, Nketiah got a last minute winner, so it was kind of the tables were turned on them because usually it's them scoring at the death. And I'm sure Arsenal fans will be really happy this weekend. They
Yeah.
got to win. They're title challengers, but Arsenal's never going to win a title. Let's be real. Forever second. And their previous player Eddie Nketiah scored a goal against Liverpool, so I'm sure they're really happy.
Yeah, Arsenal's game with what was it? Newcastle was really really close. Came down to the literally the last 10-minute stretch where Arsenal finally realized they're a better team. Obviously Newcastle's solid, but I think it was Martinelli who got that last header. That was insane. Just the dominance on that
That
play was
was
insane.
Gabriel, the
Gabriel.
center back. Yeah.
Yeah, he was really good. Arsenal won out in a clutch game. I thought they did really good.
Yeah, I mean they won. What can we say about that? But I don't want to focus on the ones who won. Let's focus on the disappointments. And Spurs is another one. And Spurs have looked again suspect. They needed another last minute equalizer just to scratch away a point from this team. And with Spurs, you want to see more consistency. I get it. It's the first season under their new manager Thomas Frank. They have to rely on their center defensive midfield to get a last minute winner. The ideology is there. The players have to be used, I think, more wisely because we have Javi Simmons, a blockbuster signing they got over the summer, and everyone's so excited for him. And he looks really good when he's on the ball, but I don't think he's being utilized right. He's being used on the left hand side as a left winger. I think if they allow him to come more inside, more into the midfield, more centrally, where he can facilitate more, he can create more. I think that's where he'll really start to shine. And we do have to give them a bit of leeway because their two star strikers, Dominic Solanke and Kolomuani, are having like a health issues, like injury issues. So they're not fully fit. They have Richarlison starting up top, where Richarlison does look dangerous, but he just doesn't have the end product always. So they just have to work on figuring that out.
I'm not gonna lie. After their win against Manchester City, in I think it was the first or second week, I was like, damn, Thomas Frank has these guys playing. They look like a revitalized team, but again, they've just kind of lost their step. Their health isn't where it needs to be right now. But Tottenham, fair enough, they're still a top 5 seed right now in the Premier League. I think they're looking much more, I guess, urgent on the defensive side of the ball under Thomas Frank. I guess that's been his hallmark as a coach. But again, it's the consistency that matters, just like you said. And you have to scrape away with wins against inferior sides. Like that goes for any team, but especially in what I consider to be a pretty wide open title race, especially now that Liverpool lost. You've got to come out with 3 points in games like that.
The Wolves before this game were bottom of the league, 0 wins, 5 games, and they scratched a point against Spurs. So, if anything, losing against Wolves is worse.
Yeah.
Last thing for this weekend, I want to touch up on Sunderland. We talked about underdogs, and Sunderland were a big underdog coming into the season. At the last 2 seasons, 6 promoted clubs have gone straight back down. So whoever got promoted got relegated again the same season. This year, the promoted teams are putting up a fight. Sunderland's flying, Leeds are doing good. Burnley are in the relegation zone right now, but you'll take that. 2 out of the 3 teams are doing really good. And Sunderland in particular, no one expected this from them because they made the championship playoffs last season. They barely got into the Premier League. And everyone was like, oh, their squad isn't good enough. Oh, they're not going to make it. They're not cut out for this. But then they sold 15 players. No, sorry, they sold 17 players. They signed 15 players. So there's a big overhaul of the squad. And it's just really good to see how well all these new players have gelled. You know, new players, new team. The chemistry was probably going to be an issue, people thought, but they've looked good. They've been flying. And they started off their season with a win. That helped their confidence, I'm sure. And again, they just got to win up against Nottingham Forest, who are having their own issues. A 1-0 win, and now they're in the European places, if I'm not mistaken. They're up to fifth, around that area. So
Yes.
it's just really good to see. If a promoted team can just get European football, if they can even reach the Conference League after just getting promoted, that's going to be amazing just for the sport.
I have one question about Sunderland. What do you think is making them have such a meteoric rise, like beating all the expectations? What about them is so impressive to you?
I think a solid spine always helps. I mean, they got a blockbuster signing of Granit Xhaka, who no one expected. Just 2 years ago, he was playing Champions League football. Just last year, he was playing Champions League football for Bayer Leverkusen, and Sunderland of all teams managed to sign him. So I think just having a really strong base, I think Xhaka is a really underrated signing. He could, if he manages to drag this team to European football, he could be one of the best Premier League signings ever. Because just obviously he won't win anything with Sunderland, but just the impact that he has on a single club, I think that could be meteoric. I think that's good for today's soccer talk. Let's get into some basketball. The ball season's starting soon. I'm really excited. There's a lot going on. We're going to be covering the East today. What team do you want to start with?
I just want to say one thing before we start, Haig. This offseason cannot end fast enough, because I'm seeing photos of CJ McCollum in Wizards jersey. I'm seeing Kyle Kuzma trying to do his like cringy poses. Like
The skin fade, the ball fade.
the skin fade. I'm seeing people checking into Kawhi Leonard's bank account. Like, who had the time to investigate that Kawhi Leonard situation? That's just crazy to me.
Pablo Torre.
Pablo Torre, such a fed. Anyways, I need this offseason to end, and we're gonna start off with probably one of the biggest like rises in terms of their roster status and the additions they made. I want to talk about the Atlanta Hawks. Okay, last year they were one of the most high volume offenses. They're always going to get a lot of shots up when you have Trae Young facilitating. I remember last year in an episode, you said that Trae Young is one of those few players who is the system, and I totally agree. But last year, they were not an efficient offense. Even though they were top 5 in points scored, it was just not efficient. Trae Young was shouldering way too much, and they were very average three-point shooting, efficiency, free throw rate. And one of their biggest Achilles heels was defense as well. So they're a meddling offense, awful defense, and what do? They go out and they acquire Kristaps Porzingis and Nickeil Alexander-Walker from a sign and trade. What do you think Porzingis can bring to the team that's such a big asset? Or
Well,
Nickeil?
Not great defense. He's not a stellar defender, but I think Porzingis just obviously with his height, he's always going to be a lob threat for Trae Young. His versatility, he's going to space the floor for Trae Young. He can shoot that thing at 7 foot.
7'3".
7'3", exactly. I think he's just a really unique player, and I think his season with the Wizards was actually really underrated a couple of years ago. The Celtics signed him off that season, and from there with the Celtics, he had health issues. Who knows what was going on during the playoffs? I don't know, it was some illness, some
Like
virus.
this most recent year
Yeah.
or the year before? This most recent year, yeah, he had some like next intestinal illness. No one knows what it was, but it clearly affected his play because
Yeah.
he was awful in that Knicks series, like unplayable.
Hopefully he's good now. Hopefully he won't have any. Well, I can't say he won't get injured because players that big with that size with that weight they're carrying around always tend to have like injury issues. But if he can stay relatively healthy, if he can give us 55 to 60 games, I'll be happy with that. I think that's a great season for him. I think that can help the Hawks push for a top seed in the relatively weak East. When you look at the East versus the West, I mean the East is buns.
Yeah.
But I really like the addition of Porzingis. As a former Celtic, what do you think about the Hawks acquiring him?
Well, just from a roster building standpoint, you kind of realize the effects of the new CBA. Like, teams are going to have to start shedding those bigger contracts if they're not performing in the biggest stages. And it was very obvious that Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis had to be the first to go, just age, injury concerns, whatnot. But just specific to Porzingis and what he could bring to the Hawks and what he brought to the Celtics, especially in his first year there, was just a new dynamic to the offense. Like you said, he could be a really good pick and roll threat with Trae Young, spaces the floor well. But the biggest thing for me is the mismatches that he can create, like having a 7-3 guy in the post that can, when he's has a sense of urgency, he can punish any matchup. So I think that's going to be big for the Hawks offense. Quinn Snyder's a very pace and space type of offensive system. And I really like the addition of Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Just having another ball handler alongside Trae Young can give you a solid 10 to 15 on any given night. Solid defender. And not to mention Luke Kennard, who is one of the best three-point shooters in the league. So you kind of see the vision that the Hawks have under new general manager. By the way, keep this name in the record books because he could win Executive of the Year. New general manager Onsi Sala. He's doing an amazing job with the Hawks, and I think they could really be one of those surprise teams this year.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited for Nikhil. I'm hoping he can have a bit more production offensively. Last season, he averaged around 9 points. I think this season with the Hawks, with more opportunity, he could jump up to at least 12, 13. Like, I think that's pretty doable for him. And if he keeps his three-point percentage around the same, it's been around 38 to 40 to past 3-4 seasons. I think that's a really good addition. It gives Trae Young more space to operate. It gives him space to dominate teams, which is crazy to say at his like 5'9" dominating teams, but
Yeah.
that's what Trae Young does. Okay, I think moving on from the Hawks, I really want to talk about the Celtics. Let's talk about the Celtics because they are one of the most interesting teams. Obviously, Tatum's out for the season. Unfortunately, get well soon. They lost a good amount of key pieces. They lost Drew Holiday. They lost Porzingis, as we mentioned. Derek White's still there. Jaylen Brown's still there. In terms of acquisitions, they didn't really do anything. They got Chris Boucher, my GOAT. He's going to have a couple good games for you guys. But they also got Anthony Simons, who I think I'm higher on Anthony Simons than most people are. A few seasons ago, I really thought he had all-star potential, and I think that's still like in the back of my mind somewhere.
Yeah.
Hoping he could do good. But now that he's on the Celtics, I have to hate watch. But the thing is,
It's great.
I don't know how invested the Celtics are in him, because the moment he got there were trade rumors of him being flipped for someone else. So we'll see how his future is with the Celtics going into this season, because they do have Peyton Pritchard in that position as well. So we'll see how they operate together. Yeah, let me hear it from you as a Celtics fan.
Like you said, we're going to be one of those interesting teams because we're heading into a gap here without Jason Tatum. What's so confusing to me, though, is as a fan base, you obviously realize if your best player, your all-NBA star, is going to be out for the year, you probably want to tank. You want to get as high of a draft pick as possible. Try to figure that out. But the staff, Joe Mazzulla, Brad Stevens, they're all coming out and saying, no, this is the Celtics. We have championship standards. We're going to compete at our best, which I just don't think is the right move from a roster building standpoint. When you have a chance to get a high draft pick, you should take it. Last year, Porzingis and Holiday, they both had a very obvious decline in their health, but also their play. Drew was just not the corner sniper that he was 2 years ago. His defense fell off a little bit. Porzingis, I don't even know what happened with his health dropping off that hard. Looked awful in the playoffs. And like I said, they just had to be the first to go. Both are making over $30 million a year. And I guess the ownership just wasn't willing to dip into the luxury tax with, Tatum out for a year. But this is going to be a good year. Just from seeing that Jaylen Brown has to take another step, like a serious all-NBA type of step. Derek White has to take an all-star type of step. And Peyton Pritchard, like a 20-point-per-game type of step if they truly are committed to being a championship contender. But who do you think on the Celtics is going to be the biggest surprise out of those big names that I said?
The biggest surprise? In terms of surprise, I'm not sure, because I feel like people expect Jaylen Brown to take that jump. They expect Jaylen Brown's production to go up because he's shown he can be the number one option on any given night. It just how often those nights come by for him with Tatum there. He could look a bit passive. Sometimes he takes like a backseat, just lets Tatum do the work. And I think even when Tatum's there, he should have the number one mentality. Like I want two number one options on the Celtics. I want them to both have that mentality, both go for it. So I think this season's going to be really good to solidify that in himself. Derek White, I think, is universally regarded as one of the best role players in the world. So I think whatever he does is expected. I think he could surprise people with a scoring jump because I think he is underrated as a scorer. I think he could provide that. But I think one of the surprises for the Celtics, I expect a big season from Queta. Like he's gonna have to produce, right? He's their center. They got rid of Luke Cornett.
Yeah.
So I think Queta's gonna have a surprising season. And to Celtics fans, I mean, he's been in their ranks for a couple of seasons, so I think they know what they expect. But with more minutes, more opportunity, he does have his flaws, obviously, as a player, but I expect a jump from him.
And just the last thing on the Celtics. First of all, that was a good point. The Celtics went for probably the deepest big man rotation. It was Porzingis, Horford, Queta, Cornette to Boucher and Queta.
Yeah.
Like Boucher is going to be solid, but it's obviously you lose a lot of assets. What do you think is actually like a realistic seeding in your mind for the Celtics? Like, do you think they'll still maintain championship level play or just like, middle of the pack? Maybe even out of playoffs.
I think if they like zero tanking intentions, if they properly go for it, I think they could be like if everything goes right, they could be like the 4 seed at most. I don't see them being a top 3 seed, which I mean 4 seed is still good. Do you see them as a contender going into the playoffs once they finish as a 4 seed? I don't think so. So it's basically you have to think as the Celtics, do you want to have a productive roster building season or do you want to have a fun season for the fans? Because for the fans, it's not fun watching your team lose.
Yeah.
I don't know, 70 games. But as a long-term, if you're a long forward-thinking fan, obviously you know that those games result in a lottery pick, result in a better team, et cetera, et cetera. It just depends what direction they're going to take. Yeah. I also think they should tank, but we'll see. What team do you want to get on to next?
Another team that I want to get into is probably the Pacers. I think they're kind of in that same boat as the Celtics where they're in a gap year. Very, very unfortunate. I remember I was watching that NBA Finals Game 7 and they came out hot. Tyrese Halliburton hit like 3 threes in the first bit of the first quarter. It looked like they were about to stun the world. And then very unfortunate, Tyrese Halliburton, he tore his Achilles the same way Dame did, the same way Tatum did. It was so unfortunate to see. And now they're heading into a gap year where their superstar point guard is going to be out. And you kind of just have to figure out what to do from a roster building standpoint. And probably the biggest headline of their offseason was the loss of Miles Turner. He was there for over 10 years, their longest tenured player, very solid spacing big, which is a luxury nowadays. But what do you think about the Pacers? What do you think about the loss of Miles Turner, whether that's from the Pacers side or maybe even the Bucks side, if you want to touch on that?
I mean, Miles Turner, I think if Reese hadn't gotten injured, they would have paid him.
Yes.
They would have given him what he wanted. He would have stayed. He was a cult hero. He's been over there for so long. The loss is going to hurt. I think one thing that you mentioned it's a similar situation to the Celtics. They're missing their star player. But with the Pacers, I think this season, win or lose, like however many games they win, even if they push for a win, they don't go for a lottery pick. I think it's still a lot more beneficial than the Celtics because the Pacers have a younger core, and then this season with experience, this season with winning, that's just going to help their inner development. With the Celtics, it's like win or lose, you kind of already know who you have on the team. Like Jaylen Brown, you know who he is. Derek White, you know who he is. Peyton Pritchard is coming into his own. But with the Pacers, they have a lot of exciting young talent. And I think this is a season for Benedict Mathurin to show who he can really be in this league. Because he's had moments where he looks like a easy 20, 25-point game scorer. And then he has games where he's the NP coach's decision. So it's time for him to show if he's legit in this league or if he's just like a spark plug off the bench. I think that's a big season for him. Obviously, they have Nemhard, great defender, great energy guy. It's just really good for development, I think. And don't sleep. James Wiseman's back.
All right, bro. It's been like 5 years. Let's wrap it
Don't
up.
sleep. Top lottery pick. He's back. Miles Turner's gone. More opportunity for him. If he can even just hit on like 20% of that potential. We'll see. Who knows?
I do want to say one thing. I thought you were about to say the name that I wanted you to say, which was Jay Huff.
Yes.
I'm a big Jay Huff truther. Like, obviously,
backwards layup dunk package.
Nah, he's tough. He's actually one of the most underrated big men, in my opinion, just because he spaces the floor really well, which, again, like I said, is a luxury for centers. He protects the rim pretty well. Like, off the bench, he was a serious spark plug for the Grizzlies. And I think, I'm not going to say he's going to be better than Miles Turner, but I think he might actually have a safer floor than him just for his, role and the volume he's going to get. So, Jay Huff is a pretty solid plug. I'm just interested to see what Miles Turner is going to do with the Bucks. But give me another Eastern Conference team that you think was pretty serious in this offseason.
Pretty serious in this offseason. That's an interesting way to word it. Let's go to the Magic.
Yes, that's what I wanted you to say.
They just had their media day. I mean, every team just had their media day. And obviously their big acquisition, they have Desmond Bane now. And I think that helps them a lot because they have been a mid is being generous, a mid offense.
Probably worse. Like
worse. For the past, I don't know how many years. It's been a while since they have a top offense. And there's a lot to look forward to if you're a Magic fan. Last year, they had an okay season. But that was also with a lot of injuries to Franz, injury to Paulo. They both missed time. They both missed time at the same time, so that obviously tanked their win percentage.
Suggs was out.
Suggs was out. As soon as they came back, Suggs went out. So they just had a really injury-riddled season. A bunch of oblique tears or oblique injuries is what they had. I don't know what's going on there. Mo Wagner is also out for the season. I don't know how much that affects them. He's a good backup. But this season with Desmond Bane, I think they finally have a very consistent offense threat because I think in the past the offense has been just inconsistent. It's been clogged. Franz shot 18% from three, I think, in the playoffs last season.
Yeah.
18%, that's I think 18 on 7 attempts. So that's terrible, obviously.
Yeah.
They lost Cole Anthony, but he had sparks, but he was, hit or miss. I don't know. I think they had a great season, a great offseason. What do you think?
The Desmond Bane addition to me is such a big acquisition because, like you said, it solves probably what was their Achilles heel last year, which was their spacing and their very atrocious offense. The one thing that just always stays in the back of my mind, though, is what they gave up to get him. I'm not a fan of giving up 4 unprotected first-round picks to get him, but I guess that's kind of just how the trade market is now. Ever since the whole Rudy Gobert to Minnesota thing, the trade market has been cooked. Mikal Bridges is going for 5 first-round picks. So I guess now it's kind of become standard, but if those picks are in the 20s, which I expect them to be with the Magic, maybe it's not the worst deal, but just from purely a Magic standpoint, Desmond Bane is a great addition. Career 40% three-point shooter. Honestly, not the worst defender. I think he gets a little bit too much hate on defense. But another addition that I liked about the Magic was Tyus Jones. They needed a true ball handler. Suggs, don't get me wrong, he can have his nights where he dishes out the ball, but he's not someone that you really trust to close down the stretch of a game handling the ball. So Tyus Jones being there is huge. One of the best assist-to-turnover ratios. Great backup point guard. Will facilitate very well for Franz and Paulo and all those guys. I expect the Magic, here's my hot take, them to be a top 3 seed in the East. And they could very well be the number 2 seed behind one of the Cavs or the Knicks, which we'll probably get into in a bit. But the Magic, in my opinion, will be a top 3 seed this year. And I think Jamel Mosley is going to be a serious Coach of the Year candidate.
Top 3 seed.
Top 3 seed.
So you have them above the
Not
Cavs
the
or the
Cavs.
Knicks. One of the Cavs or the Knicks.
I think it'll be the Cavs first, which we'll probably touch on later, but I think it'll be the Cavs first.
Raptors second.
Raptors second? Yeah. Get off the podcast, buddy. Number 2 is probably going to be one of the Cavs or Magic, or sorry, the Magic or Knicks, but interchangeable in my opinion.
Yeah. Speaking of seeding, I think one of the most difficult teams to decide the seeding for is the Bucks, because it's Giannis or bust. How good is Giannis? We know he's amazing. We know he's at times the best player in the world. He can be the best player in the league for seasons. He's a former MVP, former Finals MVP. This Bucks roster is so iffy to me. It's so questionable. I don't know where to place them. I don't know how reliable his second option is going to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if Miles Turner is going to look as good as he tends to look with the Pacers, with the Bucks. If he'll fit in. Kuzma's his third option. That's
generous at this point.
that 2025 Kuzma. I don't know, man. This roster scares me. I'm scared for Giannis. I don't want to waste Giannis. I don't want him to waste his career. And I know he's been talking about he wants out. He'll never say I want out, but he keeps saying, "Oh yeah, it's questionable the future here." For the past 3 seasons, he's been saying this. Bro, just leave, please.
Not legit.
I thought maybe the Raptors might get him while Masai was still there, because Masai's Giannis' boy, but now that he's gone, so I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, the Bucks are just, and their coaching doesn't help either. What do you think about the Bucks?
The Bucks, okay, I just want to touch on Giannis specifically, first of all. When Shams Charania came out and said this is going to be the craziest offseason ever, by the way, huge lie, I thought he was somewhat foreshadowing another big superstar trade. Obviously, we saw the Luka AD thing in February, but I thought he was referring to Giannis. This is finally the year after another first round exit, back to back. He's out. And I was almost sure that it was going to happen after how they did Dame. They obviously waived his contract. They are going to stretch it out, and they used that to sign Miles Turner, which I thought was an awful move and very, what's the word? A kind of a backstab to someone who's a very well-known character in the game, like Damian Lillard. But just the way that they're approaching their roster construction is so abysmal. If Giannis is really committed to you for another year, this was the year that you had to push all your chips in the table. Try to go around and get some of those bigger names. What could they have done with a Desmond Bane acquisition? What could they have done with, another wing pairing alongside Kevin Porter Jr., who I think is pretty solid? The Bucks just approached this offseason so poorly. They lost Brook Lopez, who obviously fell off, but he's still a very serviceable starting center in this league. They just re-signed a bunch of their guys, like Kevin Porter, Bobby Portis, Torian Prince. That was definitely a Darvin Ham thing. The Bucks are going to be a mid-team to me, and honestly, I could see them maybe being a play-in team.
Don't sleep on Thanasis coming back.
Bro, when he re-signed, that's how I knew Giannis was going to stay. That was before, yeah.
They got Cole Anthony. We'll see if he can maybe show more than he did in Orlando. I think it's okay. Cole Anthony's an okay acquisition, another ball handler for them. But yeah, Giannis is. I'm scared it's gonna be a wasted season for him.
Yeah. Do you think that waiving Dame was the right decision?
I think it all turned out okay because Dame got to go back to the Blazers. So I'm happy for him. It was because either way it was gonna be a wasted year with Dame on the bench, no Miles Turner. At least now they have Miles Turner, who can at least provide something, give some hope. I don't know if it was the right decision, but I think it worked out okay for both teams.
Yeah.
It does mean they're paying Miles Turner a lot of money because they're basically on the books. They have Miles Turner's money and then Dame's money as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. But it was an okay decision. Worked out. If it had worked out terribly for Dame, I would have hated that decision because a guy's injured. You just waive him, leave him to be. But I think it worked out fine.
This needed to be the offseason that Giannis left. I'm seriously just like you said, it's so hard to think about where to rank them just because their roster has some like okay names, but they also have some pretty awful names. But they also have Giannis, who's an MVP caliber player, so you don't really know what the ceiling of the team is. Like, I don't know. I just don't know what
I
that.
don't know. Yeah, and Giannis hit 30. After 30, it gets scary because you never know when time will catch up. Obviously, now we see players like playing till like older. I mean, Braun's an exception, but even players are playing into their 35, 36. So if Giannis can give us, let's say, three more years of MVP caliber play, I'll be happy with that. I just hope those 3 years are not all in Milwaukee. What's another team you want to talk about?
Another team that I want to talk about is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Okay, last year this was objectively the second best team in the league. They were the best team behind the Thunder, who obviously won the championship. But more importantly than anything, Kenny Atkinson was such a huge acquisition for them as a coaching signing. He got them to be the number one offense in the league, the most efficient offense in the league, the fastest paced offense in the league behind the Pacers. They were finally seeing some serious offensive life from Evan Mobley. Garland was playing well. Mitchell was all NBA. And then they fell apart in the playoffs. And I think there's a big reason for that, which I'll get into in a bit. But I don't like, from their roster construction standpoint this offseason, that they lost Ty Jerome. Like, he was a serious six-man of the year contender. I think he was the second or third just behind Peyton Pritchard. I don't know if he was second or third behind Beasley, but yeah, I don't like the loss of Ty Jerome for them. I do like the acquisition of Lonzo Ball, but I just don't trust his health as much. And yeah, what do you think about the Cavs offseason, where they could be heading into next year?
Yeah, I think Ty Jerome, I think he was great in the regular season. I do think he was really disappointing in the playoffs. There were times where he just came on and did nothing. So I think his playoffs really tanked his value. We were expecting him to get a much bigger bag than what he got.
Yeah.
So I think for the amount they re-signed, the amount they have Lonzo for, they're paying Lonzo. I think they could have paid that to Ty Jerome and just kept him. I do like Lonzo though. He's never going to be the same player after all those knee injuries. He basically got a knee reconstruction. He has a whole new knee in his body, which is crazy. But yeah, I do like Lonzo. I think he can obviously facilitate. He can shoot the three now. He can defend. He can do everything. He's like a jack of all trades, master of none, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good player to have around always. In terms of their championship aspirations, this has been a questionable team because we had the lights were too bright season.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. Yo, I'm dead.
Crazy quote. Like, I can't believe I actually said that. Shout out Jared Allen. But it's been a few disappointing seasons. I think this is the second season under their new head coach. So it's not championship or bust. They're still young. But I think there's a lot more expectation this year. It's at least conference finals.
Yeah.
They have to make it there. And a lot of it does depend on Donovan Mitchell, obviously their star player. He's always been a playoff riser, even on the Jazz. He was always putting up crazy numbers, but not getting too deep into the playoffs. So his numbers are great. His results weren't. We'll see if he can change that this year. I think with more supporting cast around him. Hopefully no injuries to Garland again. We'll see. I have high hopes for them. I think they can be really good. I do think it's not just a hope. I do think they'll make the conference finals at least.
Their ceiling is obviously a finals team, but their floor is just lower when their biggest stars aren't performing in the playoffs. Like you said, the Jared Allen thing. Like, this is maybe a hot take, but I feel like sometimes Jared Allen is almost unplayable in the playoffs because how the Pacers were able to beat the Cavs in 5 games, which was more shocking than anything, was they're switching all their quick, shifty guards onto all these bigger, slower bigs like Jared Allen, and he's just not able to keep up. And that's how the Pacers were able to cook them. They brought back Sam Merrill on a 4-year deal. Really solid three-point shooter, but I think they could have re-signed Ty Jerome with that same money. Obviously, his playoff performance wasn't great, but it's just the logistics of it. I think the biggest thing, though, it comes down to is Garland has to perform better in the playoffs. Obviously, he got hurt later, but he has to be better when he is playing. They have to figure out a way to kind of mask the deficiencies with their lengths or with their bigs being so lengthy and slow. And honestly, Thomas Bryant was another addition they made. Maybe he's kind of that plug and play because he is a lot more agile than Jared Allen. So I honestly think that's a pretty solid addition too. The Cavs at their best could be a championship winning team. I truly believe that. But all these things have to click. And Evan Mobley maybe takes another step. Garland has to be more consistent, and they have to stay healthy. Mitchell got hurt. Mobley got hurt. Garland got hurt.
Yeah, I do think. I think this team will win a championship. Maybe if not this season, at least next season.
Yeah, it has to be.
Or at least reach a finals for sure, because the East is really weak. They can reach the finals easily, and then whatever comes out of the West, if it's the OKC super team, if it's Jokic, we'll see. We'll see what happens in the finals. Let's get to a couple more teams. I don't think we'll have time for all the teams today, but we can. If there's any specific ones you want to talk about.
There's two teams that I want to talk about. One that's a really good team and one that's a pretty bad team, but they had an interesting offseason. I'll start with the obvious one, the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks, to me, are going to be a top 3 seed in the East this year, just purely as a roster on paper, but I do want to talk about what was, in my opinion, the biggest headline of their offseason. After making their first conference final in over 25 years, they ended up firing Coach Tom Thibodeau, which to a lot of people came as a shock. But if you really, really think about it, Tibbs is a great floor raiser for any team that he's came into. You saw it with the Bulls. You saw it with the Timberwolves. You obviously saw it with the Knicks. But his ceiling, I feel, is a little capped as a coach, and maybe that's why they decide to get rid of him. But what do you think about them firing Tom Thibodeau and hiring former Kings head coach and former Cavs head coach Mike Brown?
I mean, has anything good ever came out of the Kings? I don't know. But
Crazy.
No, but I do think Mike Brown's going to be a good coach for them. It's a change for sure. Tom Thibodeau, I think his style of play, I mean, as cliche it is, everyone says, oh, it's like he's stuck in his old ways. But I do think that's true to an extent. But, like, there's no reason for Jalen Brunson to be playing 40 minutes on a random Wednesday night in, like, April. You know what I mean? I think this year they didn't make any massive additions in terms of players, but I think in terms of depth, they'll hopefully have more people they can rely on in the regular season just to get them to the playoffs. And in the playoffs, we'll see Jalen Brunson hopefully take over. Hopefully, Cat can have some better games in the playoffs. He wasn't too bad this year, but hopefully he can have like a superstar Cat game.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping for. Malcolm Brogdon, Jordan Clarkson, I think both off the bench are great additions. Jordan Clarkson, I'll be honest, I've not seen this guy play ball in like 2 years because he's been in Jazz. I've not watched Jazz games, so
not me neither. I'm not gonna hold you against that, bro.
So we'll see if he still got it. And then Gershon Yabusele, again, good backup. He was great last season on the Sixers. I thought he was gonna get more money, honestly, than what he got.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how that happened. Did his agent like fumble a deal or something? But yeah, with the new coaching, it's always an adjustment period with a new coach coming into a new team with players who he didn't bring there or he didn't like mentor, if that makes sense. So I think in terms of pressure, there's a bit of pressure alleviated just because people will say, oh, it's their first season under new coach. But I do think there's still the expectation. There's a lot of expectation for this team. They're New York. They're in a big market. There's always going to be talk about them no matter what they do. Even when they had Emmanuel Mudiay starting, there was talk about him. So, we'll see what they can bring. What do you think about this team?
Like I said, the Knicks, their floor or their ceiling is definitely like a 1 seed in the East. I just think they're that good on paper. But Mike Brown, one of his biggest Achilles heel as a coach, was one of the big things that held Tibbs back, which was the utilization of his depth and really developing the young talent back in Sacramento and even back in Cleveland. This was like late 2000s. But I think now there's more veteran presence on the bench that the Knicks brought in, and I think that caters more to Mike Brown's coaching style. I think he really does embody what it means to be in a New York market. Like, he's a coach of accountability, not afraid to call his players out in the media. If anything, that's probably what got him fired last year with De'Aaron Fox. I think he's a tough-nosed coach, but I think he just has to rely more on his depth and not have the same faults that Tom Thibodeau had. I think, like you said, Brogdon is a solid point guard addition, sixth man of the year 2 years ago. He just has to stay healthy. Clarkson, another solid ball handling option. He could have his big nights of, he could have those random 20 bombs, but real expectations like 10 points. And Gershon Yabusele, just, Philly is such an abysmal franchise. I know this part's not about them, but the fact that they let him go for 2 years, $12 million, is an indictment on Philly more than it is a praise on New York. But that was a great addition, obviously. And the one thing, though, I'm just not a fan of them extending Mikal Bridges to as much money as they did. He was heading into the last year of his deal. I think they should have let him play it out and then see, is he really going to have an offensive leap in the playoffs when it matters? Obviously, he had some big defensive plays against the Celtics, and that's probably what got him this bag. But yeah, I just want to see consistency from everyone, and that includes Karl Anthony Towns. Defensively, he was awful in the playoffs. There was reports in the locker room of them calling him out, and apparently he wasn't taking the accountability well. But it just has to come down to defensive consistency in their front court. They have to stay healthy. Mike Brown has to trust his depth, and they can be a serious contender.
Yeah, I think for the Mikal Bridges money, I think that was probably something that was like predetermined. With when Jalen Brunson took his pay cut, I think it was to structure the payments so they could keep everyone else. Who knows? Maybe Jalen Brunson's getting some like Kawhi deals under the table.
Yo, they gotta check that, bro. How after the whole Kawhi thing? Sorry, that's such a good point that you brought up. They actually have to look into that because there's no way he just left $100 million on the table. Yeah,
he has $100 million tree planting business.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, from a team who doesn't have many young players, older team, a veteran team, to a team who was really young, and I'm sure you wanted to talk about the Brooklyn Nets. They drafted like 17 point guards. They're an interesting team, for sure. I think I'm gonna watch maybe like 3 games total of this team this season. I don't see myself tuning in, honestly, but
3 is too much, man. That's 3 too many. 3 too many.
What do you think about them? I know you have a lot to say about this roster.
The big thing for me was, like you said, I think their draft, they had so many assets to work with. I think they had like 4 first-round picks, an additional second-round pick, and it all just went to too many players of the same archetype. Like you said, it was just a billion point guards they drafted, all with bigger frames, good playmaking ability, but all of them have high playmaking ceilings, but their shooting ceilings are not that good.
They have 3 Josh Giddeys on the team, basically.
No, literally. That's I don't see them being anything higher than the 13th seed. Jordy Fernandez, I think, is actually a really good coach, at least for like the situation that he's in. But if they can be like a somewhat play-in team, like that's definitely a big boost, especially with the lack of talent that they have. They got Michael Porter Jr. If he stops podcasting like us, maybe he takes his career seriously. But what do you think about the acquisition of Michael Porter Jr., the departure of Cam there's so many Cams. Cam Johnson and Cam Thomas returning on a 1-year deal. Those are the biggest storylines to me.
First of all, I think if this team makes the play-in, that's not. I'll like bet you $100 right now it's not happening. They're not making the play-in. I think this team, I don't know what to think about their season. Like, yeah, Cam Thomas is gonna average a lot of points. Michael Porter Jr. is gonna average, like, let's say they average 25 each, being generous. Where does that get them? Still to 15 to 14 seed. They need I guess they just need their draft picks to play the season. They need them to develop. They drafted like 4 of the same player, hoping one of them would hit maybe. I guess that's the strategy. Like, you draft 4, you hope one comes good.
Yeah.
Increase your odds on one of them coming good. But then again, if there's 4 of them, how many of them are actually getting an opportunity? I do like the coach. I do like Jordy Fernandez as well. I think he's a great coach. It's just going to be difficult with this team to get anywhere. Just for player development, he's good. Yeah, I think Michael Porter Jr. I don't know. I don't know what to think about him. Obviously, he was very highly touted in high school. His draft stock fell because of that back injury. With the Nuggets, he showed what he could do. He won a championship. And now he got traded for, I don't know, traded for Cam Johnson, and we'll see what he can do on this team. He's gonna get shots up for sure.
Oh yeah,
For sure, he's
no
gonna
one
chuck
else
up
is
shots.
seeing that ball. No one else is seeing that ball.
Well, okay, no one else is seeing that ball when Cam Thomas has it either. It's gonna be just them two, two on either wing, just chucking up shots. I'm interested to see how this offense is gonna look, but maybe this will push Cam Thomas to add some playmaking to his bag. That'd be really interesting for him to. That'll open up his options for next season when he's a free agent. So, yeah, we'll see.
That was a good point you made. Cam Thomas is returning on a 1-year qualifying deal. For those who don't know, it's like 1 year, $6 million. In layman's terms, he's basically betting on himself to get a big bag. And I think in order for him to do that, like, he has to improve his defensive abilities. And the big thing is what you just said, his playmaking. He has to show that he can be a legitimate asset on a contender. Maybe not a contender, but like a playoff team if they really want him to get a bag. So you have to show that you're more team-oriented, be more efficient with your shot selection, and show at least effort on defense. I'm not asking you to be, Drew Holiday.
Yeah. Okay, last team I want to talk about, obviously, the Raptors.
Interesting. Okay.
Before we head out, because the Raptors, first of all, we were about to get Giannis. I'm so convinced it was actually close. Like, I'm convinced we could have gotten Giannis
Or KD. Honestly, I thought you guys might land KD.
I didn't want KD. I did not want a 40-year-old KD. Like, as good as he is, where was that going to get us? I don't think we were going to win this season. And then by the time our young players develop, KD's going to be like 42. We got Mamu. I guess good, decent backup. No, but honestly, the most exciting thing about this team is Brandon Ingram. It's basically a new addition. We didn't see him play at all last season. He signed for us. We immediately gave him the bag without seeing him play. We like doing that. We gave quickly the bag after like 10 games. So, yeah, the Raptors like overpaying their players. It's an expensive team.
Yeah.
Expensive team for what they're projected to be. Like, they're projected to be very mid. And there's a lot of money with Quickly, Scotty, Ingram, Pirtle. It's on like 28 a year, something like that.
The Pirtle extension to me was crazy. I'm sorry, I don't know what that was.
There's, like, he's a good player, but is he worth all? Like, you can get someone else for much cheaper, I think, for his same production. But that being said, I do think with this weak East, this lineup can click. Like, if we click properly, we're gonna have Quickly. We're going to have Barrett, we're going to have Ingram, we're going to have Scotty, and we're going to have Pirtle. I think that's a really solid starting five. It's not a superstar starting five, but it's really solid, I think. And then Jamal Shed. I'm a Shed head. I believe in him fully. I fully believe in him. I think he's going to be a really good point guard in this league, despite his size. And then we have our Colin Murray Boyles, Grady Dick off the bench. We have a really young, really promising team. I'm just hopeful they click. The spacing is going to be an issue because we don't have many shooters. It's going to be quickly. We're going to hope Scotty takes a jump. Pearl's, I think, hit maybe 2 threes in his entire career. So, nothing from that position. And then Ingram. Ingram was, he played, I think, 13 games for the Pelicans last season. Not a lot at all, but in those games, he was good. He was efficient. If he can continue that 3-point efficiency, that's what we're going to really need from him.
I think to me the Raptors, the question marks around the Raptors have never been the talent that they have. It's more so like, how does that talent gel together? Are there too many of the same archetypes? Is the spacing going to be effective? So I think you touched on every single one of the key points with the question marks with the Raptors. I think this could be a big prove-it year for Darko because I think he's a great coach. Again, not afraid to call his guys out in the media. Very tough-nosed European background. I think the Raptors, their ceiling to me, maybe this is too high, but I think they could be like a 5th, 6th seed. Like, seriously, the East is that wide open, in my opinion. And that's kind of the point that we're touching on in this whole episode. Anything can happen in the East this year, especially with the Pacers and Celtics, in a very questionable spot.
If we can make it to the 6th seed and avoid the play-in, I'll be so happy.
Yeah.
I mean, that would make that would, like we'd have to be above at least one of the Bucks, Pistons, above one of them, above the Heat. I think we got that. I think the Heat are going to be terrible. The Sixers we didn't get to, but they're going to be an interesting team, and we'll see.
Who do you think your top 3 seeds are going to be in the East? I know I already said mine. I don't have really a particular order, but I think it's going to be Cleveland Cavaliers, New York Knicks, and Orlando Magic. But I kind of want to hear your point on
I
that.
think Cavs and Knicks top 2 for sure. The 3rd seed, I think it's between the Hawks, the Magic, and I think Hawks or Magic.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're both very high on the Hawks this season. I just think that Trae Young has done so much, and they've always been average. So the fact that they added so many big-time pieces, if they get healthy, they could definitely propel themselves to at least a 5 seed. I think that's their floor, honestly, in this East. But yeah, and I do want to do like one like last quick segment because we just have like a very little bit of time. Let's go through like each position in the East and like maybe who we think could be the best. Kind of like a mini all-star team type thing. All right, point guard. Who do you think is going to be the best point guard in the East this year?
Best point guard. Let me just look at the teams real quick.
Combo guards count too for like point guard, shooting guard. Like think of it all-star.
I think. Oh, okay, Cade. It's either Cade. I think Cade's going to be the best, better than Brunson. But I think a really big jump is going to be Tyrese Maxey. I think he's going to be really good this year.
Wow.
What do you think?
Yeah, if I had to go with 2 guards, I feel like the plain answers to me would probably be Cade and Brunson. But part of me really wants to say Cade and Trae Young. Like, Trae Young has been leading the league in assists, or at least been top 3 in assists for I don't know how long. And that was with, like, mid teams around him.
Yeah.
He could seriously average maybe close to 15 assists this year, like 20 to 25 points. Like, I think he could be pushing for at least second team All NBA. And Cade, we know what Cade is.
I mean, his stats are always there. Like, he's been putting up double-digit assists, 25-plus points. I'm talking about Trae Young. And just because his stats are always there, and this year they're projected to be a higher seed, I've heard people put him forward as like a dark horse MVP. If he can have that kind of season, that would be insane for the Hawks.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And I'm surprised he's not extended yet, to be honest with you. But if he has the type of season that like we both expect him to be, the Hawks might have just handicapped themselves more because now they're going to have to pay him probably a bigger bag. But yeah.
What about for a wing? Who's your standout wing in the East?
Like a small forward, I think if you count him as a small forward and not a shooting guard, I think it's going to be Jaylen Brown. Like, I think not only will he do it, but he has to. He has to take a bigger role as a leader on the team now. I think he has to really channel, like you said earlier in the episode, he has to channel that number 1 mentality. There's been so much talk from like the national media about, oh, Tatum is the number 2 to Jaylen Brown. Tatum isn't as consistent as Jaylen Brown. Whatever the case may be, it's time for him to prove that. It's time for him to prove the Tatum haters right and the Brown haters wrong. So I think he's going to average something like 25 to 27 points per game. I don't think the wing depth in the East is that crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking through the teams right now. It's like OG maybe. Like,
that's crazy.
No. Obviously not better than Brown. I'll take Brown over OG. But I'm saying there's no one else really that I can really put forward. Yeah. I mean, Scotty. If Scotty has a great season, he's more of a power forward. Well, he's everything. He's a point guard, power forward. I don't know. Scotty's just positionless. But please, bro, I just need Scotty to be good.
Yeah, so I guess we're both in agreement on Jaylen Brown, probably.
Brown,
So give me the 2.
Well, I mean, one of them, Giannis.
Yeah.
Giannis is going to be the best power forward in the league. And, yeah, I think that's
unanimous.
Second best, maybe give it to... Maybe Bam can have a productive season on the Heat. But I'm not too high on Bam, honestly. I'm not a Bam lover.
What about Mobley?
Oh yeah, of course, Mobley. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. You can. It's kind of interchangeable if you count him as a power forward or a center, but
Yeah, no, he's gonna be a defensive player of the year candidate. Probably won't win it because Wemby exists, but yeah, Mobley's the answer. Yeah, Giannis and Mobley. And as for a center,
I'm looking through the names right now. I think there's probably one name. Oh, actually, hold on. I do want to say one thing. A dark horse power forward that I think could be super legit for all NBA is also Paulo.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, Paulo Banchero, who got a huge bag, by the way, this offseason. I think it was like
he got his money.
80 million. But yeah, center. Sorry, what were you saying for center?
I don't know who to say to center. I mean, Embiid exists, but Embiid's like 30% health, so we'll see what happens with him. Jared Allen's mid.
Carl Anthony Towns.
Karl Anthony Towns. I think it's gonna have to be him. I don't see anyone else on this list that I'm really hopeful on.
Yeah.
Porzingis, if he can have a great season, like a bounce back All-Star season, Porzingis.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. Yeah, I don't see anyone else crazy.
Yeah, the way that the All NBA works is you have to have a minimum game requirement. I think it's a little too high. I think it should be 60, but the actual game cap threshold is 65. And I don't think guys like Porzingis and Embiid are gonna meet that threshold. But I feel like the obvious answer would be Embiid. But I really like that Porzingis nod. Honestly, if
Yeah, we'll
they can
see.
get 65 games out of him, like I could see it happening.
Okay, I think that's all we have time for today. I think it was a very productive episode back. Next week, we're going to work on the Western Conference preview. We're going to go over the West teams. A lot more exciting there. A lot more competition there for the seeding spots. And we'll see how that goes. All right, thank you for listening. We're back from Net to Net Podcast. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
It's more than just a game.